that you're about to get an alert that is being live streamed. And I think we are good to go. So I'm just going to pin the gallery view and my view so that everyone at home can feel like they're a part of the gallery. And Carol, I'm also going to pin you because you are the lady of the hour.
Okay. So I'm going to be pinned.
You are pinned.
So you can see, everyone can see and hear me.
Yep.
Ah, how nice. And I can see Roz, but I can't see anyone else. I'll put Sam on.
Gallery view.
I don't see anything, but
There's the thing up in, well, yeah.
There's the gallery.
There.
there you are. Okay.
That's good.
Now I see the pin. All right. Hi. Hi, guys in the gallery.
Yeah, I kind of want to, we should probably switch so everyone at home can see Carol. Or not at home here. Or everyone's just going to move in. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool. Now everyone can see you, Carol.
Where would you like me to start so people know what we're looking at?
Well, I think first, we can talk a little bit about the exhibition. So this is our programming review. It's a discussion about both of the exhibitions that are on view. Sometimes we also talk about the residents' work, who's currently in residency. Isabel had to work today, so she's not going to be here today. So we can take our time. So if Carol has any specific things she wants to talk about with her show or get feedback on, and if Howard is around, also Howard. And then Sarah is here in person. So when we go upstairs to your show, Sarah, whatever you want feedback on, or if you want to just like hear about what other people are thinking about when they look at your work. It's like an informal discussion / critique of the exhibitions that are up. This one in particular is interesting because Carol and Howard are the last of our pre-COVID submissions. So we selected this show on the exhibition committee in 2019. And then it was scheduled to go up spring of 2020.
Yeah, it's rescheduled a couple times.
Yeah, rescheduled a couple of times because of COVID. We're actually extending this exhibition, so it'll be up through the end of June. Yeah,
And we're thrilled to be here. Tell you, you guys have been fabulous. Excuse me, I have no voice. Thank you. Thank you, guys. It's been terrific working with you, and I advise anyone to have this show, have a show there and work with, they're so professional and so helpful and patient. And anyhow.
Yeah, so we have this exhibition that we're in right now, Found and Made, which is of course Carol and Howard. Carol being our sculptor and installation artist, Howard is our photographer. Carol, since we've got you here, is there anything about this exhibition that you think that the group should know about before we kind of open up into a larger discussion about what we're looking at today?
Well, I've been doing a number of installations, well, up until 5 years ago. and I really enjoy the installation process, and I like using space. So it turned out that, given a lot of different reasons, that I did more solid sculptures, and except for the one, up by the window. Truthfully, I can't do much of that anymore. So I enjoyed doing the solid sculptures, and I'm going to return to just doing that instead of the big installations. So, as I started 5 years ago, it was the Trump things that were going on, and how we became really psychologically kind of crazy in this country. I've always done political work that it gets very intense for me. It always is intense for me. And so the big red one is obvious place to start. Do you want me to you going to ask me questions, or should I just go dive in?
Well, I just wanted to see if there's anything that you wanted to tell us about this exhibition before we kind of start to talk about it as a group. I know you have a kind of a rather lengthy statement about soft power and kind of each one of these sculptures and where they're coming from. And so I wanted to put the question to you is, do you want to inform the group about that, or would you rather have us kind of just dive in and start to talk about it and those things kind of come up naturally? Up to you.
Naturally is better.
Okay. All right. And so you've told us, you've given us the clues that some of this work is rather political. And I think that's a good jumping off point, especially focusing on this kind of first room here where we have some very large installations. And we can certainly start to examine some of the language, the visual language that you're using to kind of portray this political interpretation, this landscape that you've been interpreting and building for quite some time. So I want to kind of welcome everyone to ask questions or comments. Otherwise, I will always jump in with my thoughts, which I'm not shy about. So
Please do. We always like listening to your thoughts.
Yeah, we also have a logistic question, which Carol and I were talking about last night. I think because there's so much happening in the room, some visitors have found it difficult to locate her, like the tags for each piece. So we're gonna print them out bigger when we run out of printer ink. So we're waiting on printer ink, but next week we'll be printing them out bigger. But one of the things I've been wondering, because like some of them are hidden behind like shadows in the case of over there. Maybe not necessarily for this show, because we already have it documented with white tags, but in the future, a show that has a lot of sculptural elements with it, would it make sense to have the ID tags printed on like a colored paper or something to like make them stand out more?
That's one thought. But if they were just larger and placed eye level, more eye level, that would be fine. Or helpful.
I don't think I want to see them on a bright red. Something subtly different than the wall can help, and larger font size can help see them a little better.
Yeah.
I don't think they have to be the first thing you look at. If you want to find them, you start to look for them.
Right. There should be a contrast between the letters and the color, and it can just be like a pale gray.
Yeah.
Anyone else have thoughts about it?
ready to get to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roz, I muted you just because your microphone was a little buzzy, but feel free to unmute yourself whenever you want to talk. Sorry.
So we have a lot of figures in here that I know that you're kind of thinking about them, Carol, as feminine figures. Maybe that could be our jumping off point to why you kind of wanted to make that decision and how that ties into your kind of political motivations. And often the scale of those figures are quite significant. Can you maybe give us a little bit of an insight into maybe some of those surface level decisions of what you were thinking about when you were kind of conceiving the plans for these pieces?
The size has always been part of me. I work with extremely connected to whatever feels natural. And my paintings were very large for many years. I use a full hand sweep for my expression, like a strong directional push in my thinking. And so I found it really hard to work smaller. And so that's going to be an interesting transition in the future, but maybe it won't happen. Maybe I'll still be making large things. But I find this up push towards the heavens or the universe very much close to my heart. And would anyone else like to talk about that or have questions about that? No?
Well, there's so much in here. As you kind of I feel like you're a collector.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You see my room around me.
yeah, so I mean, I know that strategy in life must play into the scale of the work. And so we're looking at a lot of pieces that just have a lot of parts to them. And as a manifestation of your kind of collecting. And certainly you can see lots of different visual references and cultural references happening, especially in Helm and Handbasket here. And could you give us kind of started of maybe a bit of a tour of that piece of what are some of the things that you have included in there that we should be picking up on?
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot of objects in my studio, and having them all available to me visually is like being in a candy store, and I put them together as I see a political or emotional need. For example, the little figure standing on top in the front on the right hand side on top of one of the crutches.
Yeah, the Ukrainian doll.
Yeah, she's a Ukrainian doll figure standing on
Like barnacles, right?
fragile barnacles. Yeah, and I didn't realize until I started to paint them, which is in my mind a little sacrilegious to be painting something so beautiful that came from nature. But I do that quite frequently in my work. Anyway, yeah, I looked at her eyes. She's askance, like what's going to come next for the Ukrainian people. And that seemed, it's a little bit comical, but it's also very serious in terms of how I feel about what's going on over there in Ukraine. There's also a piece way back in the back that's a boat kind of thing. That's actually a basket filled with little dolls. I don't know if you guys can see it. Probably not.
Can we go around here?
Right, yeah.
Jessica, do you want to bring the camera over?
Oh, look at this.
Uh,
This is wonderful.
Yeah, it is. Wow.
There it is, and it's filled with dolls from all over the world. A little, nod to Noah. And I tried to make it look as ridiculous as I'm really meticulous about wrapping and my craft normally. And so I was having a little hard time making things look like they weren't so serious and so perfect. So I tried to wrap it crazily, which is very hard if you're not inclined. And so then can the camera go down a little bit? There's a whole group of things that I included, science and illnesses, and they're all symbols and references to things that are going on in the environment, and the electrical bulbs and how fragile we are. We all are in this crazy situation we're in of this day. And then right, hanging right next to it. Oh, look, can I point to things? No.
I mean, you can, it won't help us anyway.
Right there. It's an old sculpture of mine that is a little scratched up and damaged. So that helped be the ballast on these crutches. If you notice that there's crutches all the way around that are, this was an interesting feat for me because they had to be balanced in order to make the whole figure stand up. And so the crutches that go all the way around then became something for me to hang things on, which made me very happy. And it took me hundreds of hours to wrap all these things in all the different materials and textiles from different countries. And I enjoy wrapping. Wrapping is really soothing and comforting. And I love touching the fabrics and touching the yarns.
Carol, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I feel like from what I know your work has been in the past, the central figure that's like the white and the red, and the figure in the back that's also like more of like black, white, red. That's like what comes to mind for me with your work, are these like more neutral tones with like a vibrancy. Do you think that this is like a reflection of like what's been going on? I just realized I'm on camera. Does this feel like something that's like been maybe like reverberating through your head because of the past 2 years of like COVID and shutdown? Is like this is what came out of it? Or do you think this is like where your work is headed towards, like in the future? Is like a lot more like just like throwing it all into it? Because it is really interesting, especially since they're living in the same space, like comparatively seeing them. Like it obviously feels like it's from the same person because of the techniques that you use, but like the endpoints are so different.
Right. No, I get that. And it was a subconscious decision at first. And then it became very conscious of using subtle colors together with with really vibrant coloring. Is that what you're referring to? Like the big blue hand on the top and the.
Yeah, but like the colors, but also just like all the pieces involved. Because I feel a lot of your other sculptures are like really embracing like fiber and a lot of different fiber elements. Like the figure behind me, behind the microphone. Like that is, even though that's colorful, like it's really embracing all these different like fiber elements. But the other sculpture is like everything.
Right. Well, I wasn't as conscious of that change in this one. It was all about the fiber. This one was all about wrapping, and the pink one we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I can't see the piece. Oh, there it is down there. Okay, I got it pinned in. Right. As I worked on this, more people were dying, and I felt a need to reach out with comforting fabric and comforting fibers. Underneath, they're really, really intense and fine and long fiber. Some of them are ropes, and that was like keeping it together, and it was keeping it together for me. But then I decided that I wanted more comfort for me and for the figure. So it really evolved to be this, as I said in my notes, very heavy figure. It was hard to move. And so I got to stop because I would have just kept going and made it, some unimaginable ball or figurative thing. Initially, I wanted it to be coming down from the wall, like extending itself from the wall with the head kind of at the top. And we were kind of having a hard time with space, so we left it in the horizontal way. This is a very different way of working for me, where it was mostly about the material being the comforter.
Well, being in a horizontal position, it makes it look like they're lying in state, which kind of reinforces the feelings about, everyone we've lost in COVID.
Mhm.
Feels very regal. It's kind of decorative elements and position and accompanying accoutrement.
But these are almost like the candles that you see when someone is, someone at a funeral, a body in a funeral. But then especially the one on the left, is so festive, like the Helen handbasket figure. I think when Sam pointed out, started pointing us to the Helen handbasket figure, and that it's more exuberant than many of the other pieces. I hadn't really thought about that. Like the soft power figure, there's a lot happening, but it's a very limited but powerful color palette. Where the Helen handbasket is like kitchen sink.
The hell in heaven.
But somehow beautiful. Also,
There's a piece. Go ahead.
My first thought in seeing when I came in was made me feel like a Mardi Gras or a festival performer because of I guess the mask, but also the elements from all over the world felt very ethnic, or like they're tied to some culture that's still in touch with its folk origins, unlike urban post whatever we are, America.
It almost reminds me of like the Disney World ride.
The what?
The Disney World ride.
You mean the Epcot ride?
Is it, well, whatever, like you go,
The evil one, right?
is it, what are you talking
It's
about? Where all
absolutely
the kids
evil.
like
Yeah,
sing?
all the evil puppets sing to you from all the different cultures. It's definitely
Oh,
haunted.
it's a small
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. See, it is evil. We've all agreed.
Was it when I was 10?
But yeah,
It
it has like
this feeling of being on a roller coaster and
Yeah.
having all these different stops. And
a Hieronymus Bosch kind of sensibility, celebrating this kind of end of days in such a exuberant way.
Standing here, I've been admiring the shadows it makes, so
Yeah.
almost more terrifying than the figure, because the figure has the softness of the materials to sort of be comforting, but then these shadows.
It's like seeing like the bull come in,
Yeah, it's really cool, and it makes me this piece which I'm missing the name. Sorry.
Soft power.
Soft power, thank you. Also reminds me of a sound suit, Nick Cave sound suits.
Mhm.
I was just thinking that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I love his sound suits.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so jealous. I wish I had all his pieces.
But it makes me want it to move, it looks like it's poised to do a dance for us. I don't
It
know.
actually does move.
You just need like a robot inside of it to just like shimmy or something.
It's on a turntable,
Oh, really? So-
which actually helped me to make it because my arms no longer extend the way they used to make things. And so
Video later you can watch.
so it turned. Can you hear me?
yeah.
So I could turn it as I was working. On the top, I had to be on a ladder. And so I could keep turning it as I was working. And that was really helpful. And I kept thinking I should motorize it. But then it's the same in the back as it is in the front. So if there was more interesting things to see in the back, I mean, Or if it was in a bigger space, that might make sense.
I support that. Absolutely. Put a motor in it.
Well, if it were moving, it would even be more menacing. So even if there weren't anything different to see on the back, I think the motion could be a really good element to add to it if that were possible.
So it's really interesting that this show just happened to coincide with
Some ice cubes in it.
the coincide with what's going on at the moment with taking away women's rights. And I did put it out with a little label on it that we will not go back. And people seem to love that idea that I had put the words on it. But truthfully, the power part of it, the soft power, is that it's very personal. People tell me that I'm this very small person. Well, I'm large the other way, but that I have done some things that require extreme power, such as going into prison. And I can see it as a self-portrait or biographical, that I would kind of pump myself up and be this larger person when I would approach the gates to go into the prison to teach. And I felt like I had a bubble around me to protect myself at the time. So psychologically, it was very much a part of my being. And also being Irish Catholic, that contributes to it. So there's a lot of levels. And also the third level that this piece really satisfied for me was the surrealist aspect. And I've seen a lot of surrealists in the past, such as Lenora Carrington and even Max Ernst, I hate to say, but Max Ernst used a lot of red figures with white heads, and so did Lenora. And I don't know if Merritt Oppenheim did, but there's a couple of others that are escaping me at the moment. And yes, Bosch. They all seem to have these strong female figures in them, and the whole idea of different heads on women have been very influential to me throughout my painting, throughout all of my making activity.
We talk about the ones in the back, because I feel like the ones that are up here are so figurative, Carol. Oh, I didn't realize that. The ones up here are so much more figurative, but I think the one all the way in the back is almost like a trophy or something. Like it's like this, like a mantelpiece to itself. Which I think, yeah, Jess is moving back there now. And like thinking about that with like the head, that's like for that piece. So like, Jess, can you get closer? Thank you. Like for everything, all the other pieces are like fiber throughout the entirety of the object. And this one is so specifically just the head that is fiber. Is there like a particular reason why you wanted to like have that central like pedestal in a different form?
I really wanted the head to be elevated in this case. I see it as a person, as a personage. And I have I feel like fire is going to consume us in a lot of ways. And I also see it as a very female object. That's separate from being a feminine object. I mean, a feminine object separate from being about fire. So the two kind of combined in my head, and I couldn't separate them. This was a very difficult piece to resolve. And it wasn't until I put the fire references, the flame references at the bottom, hanging there, that I felt like it was complete as a statement. Part of me still says it's confused. But
maybe it's because we're still trying to figure out how we're approaching our demise. Maybe in a year or two, you'll figure it out.
right, these pieces in my mind have actually gone on, and I thought about maybe coming to the gallery and finishing them. I'll never finish them, right? But the pink one went up the wall and in my mind, and so did the handbasket piece. It really extended up the wall with all different things. And maybe this one will too. I don't know. Ona, what do you have to say? Oh, there she is. I can't hear her.
You're muted. Oh no, you're muted.
Oh, I didn't realize, I thought I wasn't, sorry. Oh, I'm just listening, and I mean, I love your work, and I'm just fascinated by hearing you talk about it. And I don't know that I ever have heard you talk about it before.
Huh, really?
Or maybe say, a few comments, and if we were together, or we came to your shows in various places.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, I'm just fascinated.
Thank you.
And very
I guess.
and very honored and happy to be here, and very honored to know you.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to know you as well.
Well,
Really. I feel like I'm having a conversation with all my homies.
right.
Mhm. What was I going to say? The piece about Ukraine.
Right. The blue and yellow flag.
Right. That came together really quickly. I've had those earbuds that it's made of, that are inside. I've had them for about 20 years. And
Yeah.
the idea of that we were all listening,
Right.
and paying attention to to their needs as Americans. It was really that whole thing. What the response has been so wonderful, and it really touched me, and I really felt like I wanted to make something about that. So something soft, of course.
Soft materials, but
Mhm.
very, very strong message, as you were talking about in your other pieces, strength and softness too.
Thanks.
Carol, can we talk a little bit about the interaction of that piece and how it ties in with Howard's work? Because I feel like that's something that we noticed when after you hung this. And that's part of how we decided where to hang this, was that blue and yellow piece of Howard's right behind it. And I think that's these are really interesting ways of how as a couple your work interacts, even with completely different subjects. You are both seeing texture in very similar ways, which was part of why the exhibition committee leaned towards the two of your work so heavily for this proposal, was that interaction that was so obvious.
Isn't that funny? It's true.
It is. Other people have commented when we came to the opening. Other people were commenting on that as well, and I think it's fascinating. Knowing both of you and your work, and so different, but yet so much intertwined.
Well, and it's so powerful.
Texture is something that brought us together, I think, because when we first met, we would go out and look at things, just look, and we found that we were both attracted to texture in a different way. I was from the fabric fiber perspective of it, and paint and the texture of paint. I love the texture of paint and textural paintings. And yet it's also very much about I think both of our arts are about putting things together, ideas of collage and manipulation so that they hopefully are in not just in visual context, but in composition wise. Because we both were trained, as artists in the same time period where texture was extremely important, and it is now, I think. Anyway.
Well, that's very interesting.
I'm really glad to see the pieces mixed together so that there's sculpture and photographs in every room of the gallery, because I feel like they are in dialogue with each other. I think they make stronger statements because they're next to something that's not the the original technique. The two sculptures next to each other and two photographs next to each other are great, but seeing a sculpture and a photograph and another photograph and another sculpture, it even heightens that the connections between looking at textures and looking at shapes and looking at in the photos, the way the light falls on flaking paint is really incredible, really beautiful.
Also the grading, I love your grading. I was gonna ask you if you could talk about that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I think you might be a little quiet.
Sorry, I just wanted to also to sort of piggyback on Bill. I love your textures and I love the grading that you do. It's so beautiful. You could maybe talk about that a little bit. But I did notice that you painted these, and then the photographs with the cyclone fence. You have that grading pattern of the fiber and then the fence.
Yeah.
The metal grading. Really, it echoes so beautifully.
We were so shocked that it worked. We were, and
That's really neat.
it was because of the curators at Da Vinci that it went together so well.
Yeah.
And then I learned that there are so many connections between us. When we started out to make this, actually 2 shows in one space, and we called it Found and Made. First we thought, oh, that's a silly conversation going on there, found and made. But we both do the same thing. We both go out and look for stuff and make our work out of our we each have our own visual finding. It's like we each find different things, but we do it in the same way. And I think in terms of our relationship, I'm sure Howard would agree that it's a strong part of our relationship, that we give each other the freedom and the support to make our art. I'm looking at your bag. Is that a face?
This is a friend of mine who is a wonderful sculptor. He's at the Grounds for Sculpture, actually, at the studio. But this is a painting he did, and then he had it. There was a process where you could get it.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Yeah. He's a wonderful artist. So I'm glad you like it. I will tell him.
What's his name?
Clifford Ward.
Say it again.
Clifford Ward, W-A-R-D. If you look him up, you would probably actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna go off on a tangent, but he makes these incredible, like Afro-futuristic sculptures, and he uses like plastic bandage, but he manipulates it and he paints it, and you and he would probably just go crazy. I will have to send you his information.
Okay, I'd love to see it. I collect African.
I could see that you two would probably talk for hours.
Mm-hmm. I've collected African work all my life, and it's influenced my art tremendously.
Yeah, this stuff is.
And I'm seeing it more so right now in these little pictures because, and you can see it up behind me and up behind my head. And anyway, thank you.
Well, I think maybe we should transition to upstairs.
Are there any last comments for Carol?
Oh, yes.
Or Carol, do you have any last comments or questions for the crowd?
No, but Roz said something to me about that other piece. Just one more second, okay? Can we go over to the one we didn't talk about?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's in the chat.
Can you get it straight on? Guess not. Huh?
Jess, could you approach it from like straight on?
Ah, with light and everything. That's great. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Roz, you had said some things about this. Oh, there she is.
Oh, you're muted. Now you're unmuted.
Yeah, no, I really like that piece a lot, Carol, but that wasn't the one that I commented about a few different ones.
Oh, I just thought you had some feedback about this piece, so.
No, I don't. I just really like it a lot. Is it a scabbard from a sword?
No.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. But it's just a very lovely piece. Could you comment about it more?
Well, it was, there's the African mask in it is where it started. And I put that together with a piece of industrial wood from a machine that was in my collection. Mm-hmm. And my God, I painted over the beautiful wood. I wanted this whole thing to work with the fiber. And I started out really quite visually with this piece. And as I made it, it became the statement that I wanted, which is the fragility of the African American or Black power in this country, as we're all pushing forward. And I think that we're a little tiny bit more towards that goal. And I hope. Does anyone else see that? The balance of the power?
I sort of see the figure as dancing through. There's a grace to it and movement to it. Yeah. And I think because unfortunately I haven't gotten to the gallery yet, but I didn't immediately see the face on the side, the middle side, mm-hmm. Dark. Is that a face with an eye? Can't really tell.
Okay. It's a mask. It's an African mask.
Yeah. Okay. But in a way, if given your input about it, I can now see it. My original impression of grace and dancing and balancing kind of go with the idea of American Black people navigating their way amazingly through the situations that they come across, and that there is a grace to the way they have been able to deal with their situation. But the what look like glass, are they glass bulbs?
Mm-hmm. They're glass bulbs. There's only two. It just looks, it's the shadows.
Oh, it's the shadows. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. Knowing that it comes off in several different ways.
Yeah. Beautiful piece.
I guess we have to go.
Well, does anyone
Thank you all. What?
Oh, I'm saying, does anyone either on the Zoom call or in the gallery have any last thoughts they wanted to say?
I've got a couple of things. One is that the hell in the handbasket reminds me of some paintings I saw, like recent paintings by Dana Shook, where groups of things sprout, different people sprouting out in bright colors from a relatively narrow base.
I can't understand
That's
what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it's muffled.
Oh, yeah, I was just
Talk
saying
closer
that,
to the mic.
I was saying that this piece here reminds me of some recent paintings by Dana Schutz.
By Dana Schutz.
Yeah, I saw them, they're huge paintings and they have all these figures piled on top of each other. And the other thing I wanted to say was, both of these are not minimalist work.
They're what?
They're not minimalist, both you and the artwork are.
They're not minimalist work.
Not at all.
No.
Way of saying they're minimalist. A lot going on in one space. So that's sort of joined it for me.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, let's go up to Sarah's show. Thank you for everything, Carol.
Thank you, Carol,
Thank
so
you.
much.
I'm going to turn my video off as I walk up the stairs so that none of you have to look at my neck.
Sam is so funny.
I didn't even know Liv was here.
This is amazing, this technology.
It's great.
Yeah. Aha.
This was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Wow. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
So who's here?
All hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
It's a air conditioner also being heard right now.
I only see, oh, there's everyone. Okay.
I think we will heard. I was looking in the camera, not my visual. We should probably. Like, whatever, we should close the door, but also I like the first second jump. That's pretty cool. This is Sara Allen's show. This is Sara Allen. Do you want to talk a little bit?
Sure. So, as always, this is another discussion about the exhibition and kind of free-formed and informal, so kind of just seeing where it goes. But I always want to kind of start out these conversations with you, Sarah, in introducing this exhibition to us. Would you rather tell us a little bit about what this work is or where it came from? Or would you rather us start to ask questions or comments, and then maybe we can kind of find our way to the core of what's happening here?
I find it's hard, I know as an observer, it's hard to start with people asking questions. And unless people are willing to start out with some questions. I'll give a little bit. This is my first show. And it comes out of, in some ways it comes out of COVID, but I don't emphasize that as much as the fact that I was part of a photo group from Philadelphia Photo Arts that was a class, and then became a group online, and we're still functioning as a photo group with a teacher. So it isn't just it makes a difference if there's a teacher. Somebody with an authority with the law, more or less accept. And this class started in 2020. And I was trying to find a way to express feelings I had of isolation without being sentimental, without being obvious, without being all the things that I criticize as a word teacher. And so it took a long time before I could find out. I started out with a placemat at a table, a single place, and then cut out pictures of my family, and people said, eh. And then I did a photo of myself that was actually taken after a really depressing class, in which nothing had ever worked. And I was really feeling awful, and little tears involved, but not in the picture. But I did it with, I'm holding it like this because I did it with an iPad. And they said, oh, this is such a wonderful picture. There's a picture of your family behind you. We get what you're feeling. It's out of focus, but that's all right. It was not all right because it's out of focus. And it took me a long time in many trials before I got to, this probably the one of the two that I realized finally that I was in something. And that was months. And that was the first year, and then various iterations of it. This out the window was actually an imitation of a Joel Meyerowitz picture I saw at the Times website where they were asking what photographers were doing during COVID. And he had a series of inside pictures of both himself and his wife. And he had one on his bed, and I thought, bingo! And what I didn't know was, you see, when you're doing self-portraits, you haven't got your subject in the viewpoint. It's sort of guess. And I found a variety of ways to guess in different and more accurately, I suppose. It's still tricky. I need somebody else to sit there. And so I take a lot of shots, but I knew what I wanted. Except when I was surprised by the patterns. I didn't know the patterns were. I did know my head was in the right place. And then echoed the head of the person in a photograph of the dance with Aiko, who was at 30th Street Station in 2014. So things were beginning to come together. And I was also interested in the arm as I'm interested in expressing what I look like as a understudy. And so this is what developed. And then eventually, well, this is all fiddling.
Can I ask you a quick question? So this reminds me of the isolation that they were proper pictures in these paintings. It's very emotionally evocative, and it almost reminds me of a painting of a woman sitting on a bed looking out a window. Yes.
So, same reason. Mirror image, and I was beginning to play around with how much of my body I could photograph as part of a continuation of looking at that arm, looking at my feet, looking at the back. Why was I surprised when it was so interesting that you could find it an interesting shape and position in taking a self-portrait? It's not an area you usually see very much. And so that became more and more exciting. And then later I began to move this to more, well, that's just another experiment. And I said, yes, this works. Trying again and again in different positions, in different contexts to express something that felt real to me. So these are the ones I entered into the next, whatever you call it.
Yeah, like proposal.
The proposal thing. And was stunned in August when I heard they said yes. It's wonderful. I have shown individual pieces, but never had a collection like this before, and never showed it, and never done portraits much. But I had me in the house, so that's part of the season. I then moved to, in the summer, fall, I think, I applied last year, so I heard in the fall, I heard in August of 2021. And I was moving to these higher contrast pictures using Speedlight in order to more explicitly work on the images of the human body and hands, and then also, of course, playing more explicitly with light. That was all of these images. Some were just done with a fluorescent, a broad spectrum for fluorescent light with an umbrella to diffuse the light. And that worked. And it was so much of who that one worked. And then what else can I find? Either online or in class. I would bring them to class. The first time I brought them to class, I was scared. And I said, it was these images, and were these appropriate to bring to class? It's a silly question, but it was indicating the level of my fear at getting into this more explicit self-revelation. It isn't really about self-revelation. It is about what the body looks like, and it's gotten more and more interesting. And speaking of textures, as we were downstairs, and somebody said to me, a college classmate came a couple weeks ago and said, "You look better in the pictures." Somebody else said, "You don't look that old." Somebody else said, somebody who didn't know what was going on here came in with pictures, and I was here. And somebody else said, "Yeah." So it's been wonderful, actually. It's been wonderful to be here with this kind of support. You're so professional. And to work with a printer and a framer. The printer was teaching me as he was printing. We conferred about the printing, we conferred about layout, printing. I conferred about layout here, and it was a nice, long, slow process, so that I could figure out, without over time, what I wanted to do next, what I could do next, what I wanted this to look like, and what I wanted to call it. I called it INSCAPE. Because it's, it's a Gerard Manley Hopkins term, meaning a made-up word, a poet, who meant it to mean the whole self. And I asked, you know, a good friend, like, after months of sitting with this, I said, okay, you're the word person, is this okay? She said, it's great. So there was a lot that was dependent, because this is so new to me, a lot depended on my being able to figure out who to talk to, and that I would be asked questions that I had that they weren't going to tell me what to do, but they were going to give me advice. And that's tricky. And that's taught me a lot about, along with the support of, well, Ellen Rosenberg, who was shown here before, brought me down here, introduced me to you, and showed me the room and said, this is where you should do it. And so it feels like a truly collaborative station. So, my lecture. You have questions or comments? Yeah.
Have you won awards in contests, photography competitions?
Well, I got some online LensCraft. I mean, they put
They're upstairs now, the lady. And Eleanor Levy came.
Did it, I got accepted at a gallery, 3 photos accepted at a gallery in Wakefield, Rhode Island, called the Carrot Gallery. They're up there now, and I'm giving a part of an artist talk over there. And so that was exciting. And
This one is exquisite, the eyes. It's absolutely extraordinary. I've never seen a photo so warm and intriguing. I also love the feet. Did you use black messing paper or fabric?
it was fabric, yeah. Mostly at that point.
So,
I then got a black background.
so
and
it's
now
a
I'm using-
timer thing.
Yep, they're all on time.
This is so great. The feet clothing. Love that.
My daughter is a medievalist, and she said all through the medieval imagery in the churches are the feet.
Oh,
It's
yes.
the assumption of Jesus and
Right.
and that.
Right. Oh,
Oh, which I
I
did not think when I did that.
and heaven or on the crucifix.
Yeah,
Daily.
I suppose there are some activities. This is when he's going up to heaven.
Ah, okay, good.
And that was actually play. It was play with the feet. The feet were taken on the floor. But it's an editorial play that came out of both class and. But it was so much fun to me. I must have switched the angle somehow. I can't remember what it is. So the fun of it is kind of I suppose the magic of what can happen.
And can I ask what contortionist view I'm looking at? I don't know. Is it just you curled up, fetal position?
Other people.
And
People said.
another crook.
Man,
Another crook.
oh my gosh.
Or somebody else said croissant.
Ah,
It was the photo, turn your head sideways and you will have your hands.
Other way.
No.
Yeah, there you
Look at
go.
it. No.
Yeah, like that's a little.
oh, that's your shoulder,
Yeah,
your elbow,
yeah,
and your torso,
yeah.
and you're doing a, okay.
That was I mean, that just makes you, I mean, the one thing that I like the most of these in particular is the focus and the ankle and all of that, it really does take that attention away from the figure and really does increase that abstraction, really draws your eyes in. I mean, I remember looking at the piece over there with the knee and the calf going across it. And I mean, I've seen abstract pieces that are painted of like an orb and some linear object going underneath it and then with the lighting effect. But what you've been able to do with the focus and with these shots and the subject matter is really just perfect that isolation of these very small, like relatively small pieces of the human body and really and create that discussion of what part of the body is that? Like, or is it just a piece of bread? Or and it's really just like it just the ability that in the lighting and just the detailing in the photo themselves. I mean, it's been really fantastic just like seeing what on a, you know, if we would look at the full picture, we would just see like a person with like their legs crossed or onto that. But like being able to draw the eye in and really just take the figure out of all of it. So now we're looking at the shape, we're looking at the composition, we're looking at the like the shadows and contrast, and just really to do that with, because when people are trained to look at the human figure, they're trying to look at faces, they're trained all that, to be able to do that to such a degree where you're tricking the human mind into completely avoiding the human figure is just a really amazing feat.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm kind of blown away because the figure is such a, especially female figure, it's just such a perhaps loaded and overused. There's a lot of to treat it so differently, so that it's interesting. I was thinking about how it's like in some ways sort of objectifying specific body parts, but also feels like it's elevating them to this level of sort of delicate wonder. Like it's not objectifying in a negative sense.
No.
Yeah, but that how you strike that balance is so kind of incredible, especially again considering how the background figure in part is. It's pretty, yeah, it's sort of blowing me away. How to do that combination, you know, to bring that kind of wonder to something that we're all sort of familiar with and on some level ourselves, right?
Yeah, familiar with and also on a couch.
Yeah.
Well, my son called it places that you don't want to look, but I disagree with him totally. Because I don't find any of this embarrassing. And it's not about, in a way, it's not about the female human body. It's about what the body looks like as it ages. It's what I'm interested in. It started by looking at my hands and taking pictures of them 3 or 4 years ago. I thought, this is what an older person's hand is. And I took pictures of the iPhone and all. So I worked hard to get that, if that's what I want. And it's interesting because I'm kind of continuing this in more black and white and more segmented, like fingers or fingers like this. And the arguments we're having in my group is we like these because they feel emotional or something. We can identify with them. We don't want you to be more abstract. Right? It's a fight. I don't know the answer.
But in terms of abstraction, can I point out that I love the gray line under your hands? Is that a book or is that?
It's a piece of fabric that started out as a kind of a mess. I'm gonna say the line. If you really want to know, I tried to cover it up and the printer said,
No.
Because the fabric, if you can see that it is fabric, you know that the hidden parts of the hand are hidden in the fabric. Does that make sense?
Right, and it's the most abstract success for me. The shape, the mountains, and this little gray line knocks my socks off. personally. What do I know?
Well, and I think too, there's gonna be different pieces that, like, people, I don't know, I can speak for myself, like, I'm bringing to this just, like, I love, I think bodies are sort of strange and crazy, and so the big pieces that I'm drawn to are going to be the ones that I feel like are sort of more playful and abstracted, and, you know, and other people will resonate more with the sort of emotional resonance that you're talking about, and that might be different pieces, so it's like, there's, you know, many directions to go in, but I think they're both compelling, and there's obviously overlap because of the abstraction and fears and pieces that also are identifiable, or sort of easily identifiable, you know.
Yeah, so it's a struggle. It's interesting that she calls ants abstraction. I'll take that.
Well, I also,
I like that.
I like this composition. Bryant, is that you're doing?
Nope.
You,
Actually, it's the Brunner of it, because he was first able to make, this is a prop, he was able to
yeah,
blow it up without losing
crop's
resolution.
a genius, but I do think that the knee and the arm belong over here. Not in terms of the room, but in terms of,
Oh, the abstraction.
yeah, well, the piece of body that is almost a French roll and a baguette. They go with the croissant.
That's great. I like, actually, Howard, when he first, Brunner, is that his last name? When he first saw this one, he said, you gotta flip it.
Oh.
And my daughter said, I don't like it that way. And another friend, a daughter of a friend of mine, who was in the room, said, I do. So that's productive. That's really fun.
Oh, yeah.
Scared me.
For me, I feel like one of the things I've been thinking about a lot is we have a tour group that comes almost every day to see the shows. And like, when I'm in this room with them, describing the work, I always say to them, because everyone's in this and they're like, oh, so serious. And I'm like, if you do Sarah, it's like the complete opposite. And like, for me, it feels like all these different fragments of you, where it's like, this is like one layer, and like, this is another layer, and then like, you, as who you are presenting to the world and present to a space, and like, people in public. And it's been really interesting to see like the duality of you through this exhibition and like living with your photos for the past couple of weeks.
It has been personally, in a lot of ways, transformed. I mean, I've never called myself an artist. Someone, friend said to me, you're a professional now. Oh, thank you. So it's enormous change in my late 70s. So I'm a bit stunned by it all. My kids came from great distances, Israel and California, to be here to see it. So they too are stunned. And please, to find this kind of creative venture at this age, it's wonderful. And it depends on all this kind of, this talk helps too. And it's, I taught for a long time and I was a collaborator as a teacher. And this is what has worked.
Have you changed any thoughts in your mind changed about this work as we have seen it evolve from the viewfinder of a camera to on a computer to then in class and laying it out on the table to actually on the wall and fully kind of realize production of it?
It is, I mean, what I see on my computer is not the same. And I have to work with, I really have to work with other people. I have to work with the printer. I mean, I have a printer of my own, but I mean, it doesn't, I can't get it. The difference between what's in the viewfinder, what's on the screen, and what gets printed, I mean, it's not the same. It's not, I don't have the vision to understand the technical stuff. So I need the help of a lieutenant in my group. But, I'm also learning a lot more, of course, about technique and how much digital technique crap there is. There's so much for me to learn. I want to learn how to take a picture of my hand on my leg and get the whole damn thing with a speed light, get the whole thing or enough of it in focus so somebody doesn't say, but focus. And I don't have, I mean, you go on, I've done a lot online. And what you soon get into is people making beautiful images of beautiful models. That's not quite what I want. There isn't a whole lot of this fun. There have been some women doing images, a lot of them doing images of illness and scars. Not I saw the Joan Semple painting that's at Catholic, but she's a sculptor. I mean, she's a painter, but they're sculptural. And they're about the human body, but almost abstracted as well. It's not much feeling it. I was surprised. I thought I was going to be blown away and all this kind of. She just looks at things differently. And she's a painter. I don't know what I answered your question.
It's wonderful to hear though.
The beauty of the aging body is so because it's, you know, this culture, that's not something you're supposed to think about. This is going to be ugly, this is going to be that. I mean, it's just, you know, the way you focus in and the way you like, you know, it's just showing the beauty. It's really a tribute to, it's a tribute to humanity. I think. It really is. Thank you. Yeah. And a tribute to these people. Our council accepted it.
These communicate to me the way music does, dance does, in that something in a posture conveys in a human being. Maybe within a human being, something in a posture or a facial expression, no words, conveys something that can't be conveyed. That's what good choreography is. And what you've done here is, I mean, one thing I think that unifies what I got when I first walked in was the sense of stillness. The sense of stillness, acceptance, and sort of how to live. I mean, you know, I don't know if you have it. It doesn't matter if you really have it. Yeah, the pictures, that particular. But also each one, maybe not every single one, but like if, with facial expression, I know what that means. I don't have to talk about it. I know what that is, and that's probably the most rare of it, because not many times you see what that means. And the other thing that really brings these together, I think, is stillness and the use of. I mean, to me, that and that so far, like dancing, the same feet. It's like the wordless, the posture is wordless, but it has to be carrying some meaning with it if it's done right. And what you're able to do with all this technique that you're talking about is eliminate the other stuff, which is almost wonderful if you can do. That way it comes through without a lot of noise or distraction. And the hands, one on top of the other. There's a woman on my block who just died. I knew her over just crying at the show that first time I went over at the light box. There was a woman who had a picture of her mother's hand.
Oh,
Buddha.
Yeah.
And she just died. She lived down the block from me. I had not met her before, but there was something that was the one thing. But it was the same kind of, there's self-confidence and understanding of one hand for the other. It's like a feeling. But I don't like to use words. They're just stuff.
I think you might have the chops to be a video artist as well. I feel like these are stills from some sort of choreographed thing. I mean, I've heard people say stillness. I get movement from this. I'm imagining these from a greater video piece. That's a lot of fun.
Right, I didn't mean stillness in terms of not motion. Stillness is
Okay. I agree with that.
Well, because that hand shouldn't. You're right. Come down here.
Yeah. I certainly the virtues of having a community talk to each other, have you enjoyed having your class, especially through COVID, and that continued community to discuss about even work like this. So I hope a few of them have actually been able to come see this.
A lot of them.
Good.
Yeah. Sarah's here with like a crew every day.
Is that right?
Pretty much, you come all the
I
time.
didn't come to the grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was that last weekend when you had like,
Well, I had a bunch of my college classmates came to, we met here.
yeah, when you lost your friend.
Well,
Yeah.
I know. We went that way, and then that way, she went that way, and that way. She's 80, so we're together. And she left her phone in the car, so it was a little more drama than it did one.
Yeah, we were on a mission to find the woman with like two canes.
One instant touch.
Yes.
And her response to it, I know her for years, but anyway, her response was, I got all watching. I don't know what, I think it's like, there was this thing that said, Sarah, you're the one that gave her the correction. Sorry. She's fine.
I was gonna say, do we have any comments in the chat? I don't know if
Yeah. Ona, Arlene, Bernie, do any of you have comments for Sarah or questions? You have to unmute.
To be honest with you, we can hear just a very small portion. It all sounds garbled.
I think it's hard to hear through the masks.
Is it possible to move the microphone any closer?
I think it's because we don't have it elevated. Usually we have it elevated. Sorry about that.
Somehow when Brian and Sam speak, they have their masks on, but I can hear clearly.
I think we're used to enunciating for Zoom.
Yes, you're right. That's right.
Also, we'd like to see more close-ups of her photos. We didn't see that, we just saw one or two.
Actually, since you want to put in the chat the exhibition.
They're just amazing. Amazing.
We were going to look at that eventually.
The videos, who's done the videos?
Oh, Liv.
Yeah, they have been such fun. I like the Louis Armstrong one. I had no idea you were going to do those things.
Oh, you mean the ones on Instagram? Those
That's
are,
on Instagram, yeah.
Anna has been doing those.
They've been fun.
Yeah, we're trying to learn how to use TikTok to get all the hip kids into the gallery.
You mean like 11-year-old?
Yeah. So our youngest employee who didn't know how to use TikTok, we were like, now you can be cool too. So she's been learning and posting videos.
So I was trying to figure out how to get them onto my own Instagram. Yeah, we're sold. And then it depends on people looking at videos as opposed to posts. And I know what my generation looks at. Not also reels. That's, no, and the fact that you do something else, pushing all the time.
Yeah, we've certainly upped our social media game in the past couple of months. Yeah.
So, what's next after, you've totally kind of digested what's happened here this month with this exhibition? Do you have any, plans to get back shooting or?
I have already started, which
Okay.
is that I set up, I got a softbox. And I was just using a bow, the speed light, the softbox works better. And then one of my classmates gave me a paper and whatever the thing is, the roller.
Yeah.
So because I was having trouble with the background showing. And I moved back to the cellar. The cellar is my sort of studio next to the washer and dryer. It's a little chilly and all. But I live alone, but I don't have a studio that's big enough. But I started with, there's a Mikhail Schultz is a Swedish photographer who's got a book and an exhibition called Naked, in whatever it is in Swedish, NAKND or something. But he had 5 different people of different ages, mostly younger. And he was taking similar kinds of images of parts of their lives, the art of the torso and lots of legs, hands, and they're all in black and white and all of them close up. So I started. And then the imitation is often a way to start. And so I've been doing hands and trying to figure out a little more. I would like to get more, I'd like to get better with light. Light and focus. And I've learned some tricks about focus. A friend in the group gave me a mannequin. So I set up the mannequin, measure, and actually, if you put a piece of string from the camera, you get as near the sensor as you can get to the object, and measure that, and then look out at the camera. And you get pretty much the distance to measure it. Because I can, but these were soft, and that's fine. I may need to be, with these, I have to be sharp. Not the, marble sharpness. It's amazing. Look at your hands. You take a close up. It's amazing what they look like, whether you're old or not. And they're quite beautiful. And yeah, so that's, I've got going on hands.
Well, we can't wait to see more.
Oh! So moved by this whole experience. Thank you for your comments and your thoughtful look at me.
Right. Well, maybe I think we're kind of wrapping up here. Any final thoughts to send us out back into the world?
This is a wonderful place.
Oh.
Thank you.
This is a wonderful place. I don't know what other kinds of things people are obviously members, but whether you have exhibits here and have a similar experience or not.
Well, some, yes, actually, yeah, many. If you want to come back for our members show, which is going to go up downstairs after Carol and Howard finish in June, there will be a member show with lots of familiar faces, and if you're a little new to the community, a lot of new faces that you can make those connections.
Great, that'd be good. Because I've been wondering how you get more part of that, without having to drive down here every day.
Much as we love that, I
Yeah,
understand.
Yeah, and I have put a lot of these on the member, on my, whatever you call it. So that somebody can choose.
Excellent, yes. Sam, do we have any things that we'd like to plug coming up? Important dates, perhaps?
If you would like to apply to the member catalog, which the only people who have it in this room right now are Robert and Anna, also Arlene, then you should do that by May 31st so that we can potentially jury you into the next member show. Maybe we already started jurying it, and Robert and Anna and Arlene should all submit work because it would make sense for the show.
I think that's loud and clear.
Our next reception for up here for Sarah's show, unfortunately, it is leaving the gallery on Wednesday. So June 2nd is the next reception for Gallery 2. It's going to be real cool and fun. It is about 30 artists, like 30-ish, mostly local illustrators and graphic designers that all are really cool. Some of them are members, a lot of them are new to our community. And then on June 11th, we are partnering with Dude Comics, Pat Oluvio, who is a teacher at Fleischer and has run the small press distro for I think 11 years. And we posted it in the gallery before. This year we're doing a night market at Colombo Park that will end around 8 with a reading and projections of the comics and animations alongside the reading at the park. And then the biggest plug is we have a documentary that we've been working on for about a year now. The first episode is launching on July 16th. We're having a giant party at Colombo Park to celebrate the launch. We're also going to be having a lot of other like fun events. We also need money, and we'll be selling tickets. So please invite all of your friends. You're about to receive save the date in your mailbox in the next 2 weeks. Please invite everyone. And please come. This is going to be really, really fun. If you have not received a copy of the Meditations on Sustainability zine, we have them available downstairs. Please pick up a copy. If you're at home or viewing this after the fact, members get 1 free copy, and then they're available for sale on a sliding scale, either on the gallery or we can ship it to you, and it's for purchase on our website. There's a lot of other things. We're always doing a million things.
You are.
Those are the big ones.
Yeah, those are the main ones. Look at the website for everything else and your emails. Read your emails. Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. It was great.